Hello, welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, what is the difference between HashSet and TreeSet in Java? Let me answer this question with practical demonstration. Both HashSet and TreeSet belongs to collections framework in Java. Under collections framework, there are a lot of predefined classes and interfaces, whereas HashSet and TreeSet are few of them. So as the names are similar, right? HashSet and TreeSet, the names are similar. And also there are some common things between the HashSet and TreeSet. Before I explain the differences between HashSet and TreeSet, we have to understand why this question came. What are the commonalities between this HashSet and TreeSet? I need to explain first. The common things between this HashSet and TreeSet are their parent interface is set interface. HashSet is a child class of set interface. TreeSet is also a child class of the same set interface. They don't allow the duplicate elements. If you try to store duplicate elements into this HashSet or TreeSet, okay, the duplicate elements will be ignored and only one out of the duplicate elements will be considered. No duplicate elements will be allowed, only unique elements. Then they both belong to the collections framework and they also inherit the same type of classes from the collections framework, which is a parent of the collection interface, which is a parent of the set interface. They inherit the these methods like add method, remove method, clear, size, is, empty, contains method. Both have the same set of methods which are inherited from its grandparent interface, which is a parent of the set interface. And it's not thread safe, guys. Okay, that means not synchronized. Not thread safe means if you use this HashSet or TreeSet in a multi-threaded environment, there is a possibility of getting some exceptions because one thread may interrupt another thread. Okay, so it's not synchronized. It may be fast, but ultimately the thread safety is not there. In a multi-threaded environment, we should not be using them. In a single-threaded environment, we can use HashSet or TreeSet because it will be faster, but not synchronized. Okay. Fine. These are the common things between the HashSet and TreeSet. Now let's understand the differences between HashSet and TreeSet. Coming to the HashSet, what are the differences we have? HashSet, TreeSet. The name set sounds same, but here HashSet is there, here TreeSet is there. Here, coming to the HashSet, the elements are not stored in a particular order. Inside the HashSet, the elements are not stored in a particular order, whereas inside the TreeSet, the elements are stored in a sorted order. Okay, so whatever the elements that you add to the TreeSet, right, they will be automatically sorted. For example, if you store numerical elements into this TreeSet, they will be stored in lower number to the higher number. Okay, and if you try to store like alphabets kind of stuff into the TreeSet, they will be stored in ascending order. Like that, elements inside the TreeSet, okay, whatever the elements you add to the TreeSet, they will be sorted. Okay, automatically they will be sorted. Whereas in HashSet, there is no particular order, guys. Rather, instead, the elements added to this HashSet will be stored in a random order. There's no particular order. The order will not be preserved at the same time. It will be random order, guys. And coming to the performance of the HashSet, very fast. Okay, since there is no particular order, random order, and all, right, it's very fast. HashSet is very fast when you use HashSet for adding the elements or removing the elements from the existing list of elements and checking if an element exists or not. In this particular HashSet, whatever the element stored in that, a particular element is available or not. If you want to find that, do such searching operation, apart from adding, removing, if you are finding whether a particular element is there in the HashSet or not, the results will come in a faster way in HashSet when compared to when we compare this HashSet with TreeSet. TreeSet performance is slower in this kind of activities. Okay, HashSet is faster in this kind of activities, whereas the same activities like adding, removing, and searching for the element exists or not in the TreeSet is slower when compared to the HashSet. And here in the HashSet allows one null element. Only one null element will be allowed, whereas in the TreeSet, okay, does not allow null elements. Okay, you cannot add null elements here. Null elements are allowed, but only one, because duplicate elements are not allowed. So ultimately, null is also cannot be duplicated here. Only one null element, but here null elements will not be allowed. And where do we have to use the HashSet? Use when you don't care about the order of the elements and need fast operations. When you want to add the elements into the this particular class in a faster way, or remove the elements from the class in a faster way, and to search for the element from this in a faster way, then you go with the hash set. Okay, but if your requirement is to, okay, store the elements in a sorted order, okay, in a sorted order, then you have to go with TreeSet. Here order will not be preserved, but faster operations of adding, removing, and searching will be there in TreeSet. Okay, we generally use TreeSet when you want to, whatever the elements that are added to the TreeSet, if you want to have them in a sorted order automatically, then TreeSet. Okay, so let me practically demonstrate this, guys. Let me practically demonstrate this. Just give me a second. Let me practically demonstrate the differences between HashSet and TreeSet by writing the code. Here, I'll create a new package. Right click and create a new package. I'll just name this package as .5. Inside this package, I'm going to create a new class. I'll just name this class as I'll say HashSet. In real time, we use HashSet a lot, guys. Okay, in real time, we use a HashSet a lot. Okay, when you don't want duplicate elements to be stored, and then we generally go with the HashSet. Okay, HashSet demo I'll give you. HashSet demo with main method I'll create. And inside the main method, I'm going to write some code, guys. Okay, inside the main method, I'm going to write some code. That is, I need to create an object for the HashSet. HashSet is equal to new HashSet. HashSet is equal to new HashSet, and say Control Shift O. And here, less than greater than symbols I have to give. And inside the HashSet, I need to provide the type of objects I would like to store. That is integer, let's say. And let's add the elements into the HashSet. Let's add the elements into the HashSet. Let's say 9 HashSet dot add of 5 HashSet dot HashSet dot add of, let's say 7 HashSet dot add of HashSet dot add of, let's say 1 HashSet dot add of 4 HashSet dot, let's say here 8, otherwise HashSet dot add of 2 HashSet dot add of, let's say 3 HashSet dot add of, I'll give 9 again. Okay, like that, any number of elements you can store. Okay, any number of elements you can store. And I'll try to add HashSet dot add of null, semicolon here. No error is coming. No error is coming. All these elements got add, like now let me print out the HashSet here. System.out.println. System.out.println HashSet. Okay, run this code. I'm printing the HashSet here. Run this code, guys, and observe that what is the output here. Observe what is the output. You see null 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9. Only 1 9 came. And here order is not preserved, guys, but it looks like order is there. But I'll try to add few more elements. I said that add of 127. Then here and there I'll add different elements. I said dot add of 99. Okay. Here I said dot add of let's say 30, 36. Okay, like the different elements I'm adding in between, and let me run this again. You see here the order is random. How can I say that it is random? You see 99 is coming somewhere here, 1, 2, 3, and lesser number is coming here. There's no particular order, guys. Okay, if you give more elements, you can find that out. Okay, the biggest number should be at the end, right? But 99 is coming in between. That proves that the order is not preserved and random order. Okay, there's no particular order in which the elements added to the HashSet will be stored in the HashSet. Okay, then performance will be very fast. You can do the adding, removing, and this theoretical part. Null values are allowed. Only one null element is allowed, because duplicate elements are not allowed. Automatically only one null element. And here duplicate elements, if you both same, this is not a difference. HashSet and TreeSet will not store the duplicate elements, so only 1 9 will be considered here. Only 1 9 will be considered here. And similarly, coming to the TreeSet, guys, coming to the use case, I told you already theoretically. TreeSet is something where here. So here, instead of the HashSet, I'll write the TreeSet, guys. Okay, instead of the HashSet, I'll write the TreeSet. I'll just copy paste this, copy this, and paste it here. Control C, Control V. Okay. Is there any name coming? Yeah, 2 is coming. Here I'll say TreeSet demo, I'll say, press OK. And I'll get the same code, but I'll modify that to TreeSet, guys. Instead of HashSet, I'll give TreeSet here. Instead of HashSet, I'll give TreeSet, Control Shift O. Okay, then TSet, I'll give TSet. I'll just add the elements in the similar way to the HashSet. Okay, I'll add the elements similar to the HashSet. TreeSet. Like this, I'll give the elements, guys. Like this, I'll add the elements. After this, I'll print the TreeSet here and run this code. With the output, we can understand that the elements will be stored in ascending order. Okay, in case of numbers, elements will be, you see, null pointer exception is coming because you cannot add null. Whereas in case of HashSet, you can add null here. Only one null value will be allowed. But in TreeSet, null will not be allowed. I already mentioned here. Null is not allowed. Does not allow null elements. You are getting null kind of exception. You are getting like null pointer exception. You are getting. Let me. I commented the null element and just run the code here. The element should be printed in ascending order. You see, 1, 2, 3, 5. No matter how many elements are there, they are getting sorted out. Okay, the elements will be stored into the TreeSet in a sorted order. So like that, guys, these are the differences between HashSet and TreeSet. Hope you got the answer with this for this question with practical demonstration. So that's all for this session. Thank you. Bye bye. Hello all. Welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, what is the difference between public and private access modifiers in Java? Let me answer. In Java programming, we have several modifiers. I can categorize these modifiers into two types at a high level. What are these modifiers? So these modifiers, when specified before variables, methods, and classes, will change their original behavior. Those are called as modifiers. Such kind of modifiers in Java can be categorized as access modifiers and non-access modifiers. At a high level, these modifiers can be categorized to these categories. Okay, and under the access modifiers, we have different access modifiers like public, private, protected, and default. Okay, these are the 4 access modifiers. And coming to the non-access modifier, we have static, final, and abstract. These are the non-access modifiers we have. Under the access modifiers category of these modifiers in Java programming, we have this public and private. The first two, as you can see, okay, the first two fall under this public and private. Okay, so fall under the access modifiers category. Public versus private is the question here. Okay, what is the difference between this public and private is the question. Okay, so out of all the modifiers, we can categorize these modifiers into access modifiers and non-access modifiers category. Under the access modifiers category, we have this public, private, protected, default, and the question is, what is the difference between public and private access modifiers? Okay, so let me explain that. So coming to the first one, that is public access modifier. This public access modifier can be specified before variables. You can specify them before the variables, methods, and also the classes. Okay. What about the private access modifier? Private access modifier can be specified only before the variables and methods. It cannot be specified before the classes. Okay. Private access modifier can only be specified before variables and methods, but not before the classes. When you specify the private before the classes, you will get illegal modifier error or illegal modifier error. Hence, private cannot be specified before the classes. Public can be specified before all these 3 types. Fine. So what will happen when you specify the public before the variables, methods, and classes? And what will happen when you specify the private modifier, access modifier before the variables and methods? So when you specify the public modifier before the variables, methods, and classes, okay, they can be accessed anywhere in the project, guys. Okay, this public specified variables, methods, and classes can be accessed throughout the project, within the package, outside the package, throughout the project. Anywhere in the project, you can access this public specified variables, methods, and classes. But coming to the private access modifier, when you specify this private access modifier, that too only before variables and methods, it is possible. These variables and methods of the class can be accessed only within the class. Okay, this private modifier specified variables and methods can be accessed only within the class, and outside the class, we cannot access them. Outside the class, we cannot access them, but there is some possibility, there is some alternative of accessing these private variables and methods even outside the class by creating some public methods inside the same class where private variables and methods are available. With help of that public methods inside the class where private variables and methods are available, we can indirectly access, but directly you cannot access the private variables and methods outside the class. Okay, but when you create some public methods inside the class where these private variables and methods are available, using that public methods inside the class, we can access them outside. Private variables and methods we can indirectly access. That concept is called as encapsulation. Okay, that concept is called as encapsulation. So, but straightforwardly, private variables and methods can be accessed only within the class. To access them outside, we have to create public methods inside the class where private variables and methods are available. And then via the public methods, we have to access them indirectly. That is encapsulation. But public is not like that, guys. Directly, you can access these variables, methods, and classes throughout the project without the need of creating any other things or items in the class. Okay. So let me practically demonstrate this public and private access modifiers for you now. For that, I'll switch to this Eclipse IDE. And in this Eclipse IDE, I'm going to create, let me close all this stuff and here modifiers package there. I'll create one package, guys. I'll just name this package as dot pack one. Okay, dot pack one. And under this pack one, I'll create a class. I'll just name this class, I'll name this particular some class name I have to give this. I will just name this as, let's say, car A or something. I'll just give some random name. Click on finish. Inside this car A, I'll create some variables and methods. Okay. By default, when I create a class, right, it is specified with a public modifier. Okay. Whereas here, public string company is equal to, let's say, some Honda. I'll give some value also, Honda company. Then public void start car. I'll simply write down. I'll just create a method, guys. I'll create a method like this. Here I'll write down some public variable and method I'm creating, guys. Inside car started, otherwise car started. Like this, I created some variable and method. And here this class also I created, guys. Class name. Like class is starting from and here and ending here. And the class is specified with this public access modifier. Whereas I created a variable inside this class, which is also specified with public access modifier. I created a method inside this class, which is also specified with the public access modifier. Okay. So like this, I'll create a variable and method inside the class. I'll create a variable and method inside this class. Now I'll create some class here, let's say demo class with the main method. Now guys, let's see whether I can access this particular variables methods, this particular class variables and methods outside this class can access. For that reason, I created this demo class. And here in one of the method, like say main method, okay, I'm going to create an object for this class. CA is equal to car A, CA is equal to car A. Like this, I'll try to create an object for this class. If I'm able to create an object for this class outside this class means, that means this particular class is accessible outside the class. Okay, we can successfully access this class outside the class if you are able to create an object for it. And by using the object reference, system.out.println, I'll try to access the variable. You see, without any error, I'm able to access the variable. And also here, can I call the method start car? Yes, I can call the start car method. Everything is possible, guys. Everything is possible. You can access the class outside this class. You can access the variable of this particular class outside the class. You can access the method of this class outside the class. All these are possible because we have specified the public access modifier before this class variables and methods. Now run the code. You see, Honda and car started got printed. That means we can access them. So you may have a doubt like, okay, you have created the class and this demo class within the same package. Here pack1, here also pack1. What if I create another package? You may have this doubt. What if I create another package like pack2 here? And in this package, if I create, let's say demo2 with main method, okay, with main method, will I be able to, okay, in this demo2 class, can I access this class variables and methods outside the package? Let's find it out. This demo is not inside the same package where car class is created, where this demo2 class is created outside the package. This is a different package, this is a different package. As you already know, a public specified classes, variables, and methods can be accessed not only within the package, but outside the package and throughout the project, you know that. To prove that, I'll just create an object for this class. I'll create an object for this class. I'm getting an error. That doesn't mean that I cannot access. Here, since this particular class I'm trying to access is belong to a different package, I should first import it over the mouse and import this class from that pack1. Okay, it belongs to a different package, so I have to add this import statement, but still I am able to access this class because I am able to create an object means I am able to access the class. Now, using the object reference of this class.company and also ca.startCar, I can access, right click run as Java application. You see Honda and class started got printed. That means public access modifier specified classes, variables, and methods can be accessed within the same package, outside the package, and throughout the project, you can access the public access modifier specified classes, variables, and methods. Now, coming to the next one, that is private. Private can be accessed, private specified variables and methods can be accessed only within the class. Outside the class, you cannot access them directly. And also private can be specified only for variables and methods. You cannot specify them for classes. To prove that, I'll create a package here. I'll just name this package as pack3. And in this pack3, I'll just create a class, let's say sample A class. Click on finish. And here I'll create some method string color is equal to black color. Then public void, okay, sample method will create system.out.println inside sample method. Like this, some sample class, sample variable and method I'll create. Okay, some sample variables and methods I'll create inside this class. I'll try to provide private access modifier here, but it will not be possible. Before the class, we cannot specify the private access modifier. We can specify the public, but we cannot specify the private because we'll get this illegal modifier kind of error. So I have to either remove it or change it to public. Let me change it to public because, let's make it public because you cannot specify private means let's put it as public. But coming to the variables and methods, you can specify the private case. There's no problem in this. Okay, it will accept private access modifier can be specified before the variables and methods, but not before the classes. That's one thing. Now, if I create one class, say demo class with main method here within the same package, and try to access this, okay, try to access this private specified variables and methods outside the class, it won't be possible. Within the class, it is possible. So I create, I'll explain that later. But outside the class, we cannot access this private modifier specified, access modifier specified variables and methods. Though this class is public, but these variables and methods are private. So I can create an object for the class that is sample is SA is equal to new sample A. Like this, I'll create an object for the class, but by using this object reference, I cannot access these variables and methods outside the class. System.out.println SA.color error will come and SA.sample method error will come. Okay, you cannot access this private modifier specified variables and methods outside the class. Even though this particular class is part of the same package, still you are not able to access. Okay, this private variables and methods because the scope of this private variables is only up to this class. Inside the class only you can access. What if I create a method like this public void, okay, public void sample method I'll create. Here in the same class where private variables and methods are there, I created one more public method. When I call this method, Okay, when I call this method, I'll just simply write down system.out.println color. Okay, and I'll simply call this sample method. Indirectly, I'm accessing with the help of this public method. Indirectly, I'm accessing these private variables and methods outside the class. How means I should not be using like this. Simply I have to write sa.sample because it is public type. I can access this indirectly. This public method we can access, and using this public method, we are accessing the private variables and methods outside the class indirectly. And this concept is called as encapsulation. In encapsulation, directly you cannot access the private variables and methods outside the class, but by using the public method inside the same class where private variables and methods are available, okay, we can access them indirectly. Now run this code and you will see that black and inside sample method will be printed here. Whether this particular class is belong to the same package or different package, it doesn't matter. This encapsulation will work. Okay, but private access modifier, the scope is up to the class in which they're created. Only within the class we can access. Outside the class, we cannot access them. Okay. So guys, with theoretical explanation and practical demonstration, I've answered this question for you. That is, what is the difference between public and private access modifiers in Java? So that's all for this session. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hello all, welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, what is the difference between string array and char array in Java programming? Let me answer this question followed by practical demonstration. So what is the difference between the string array and character array or char array? So obviously guys, string array will store a group of string objects. Okay, if you're creating an array of string type, then that particular array is going to store multiple strings. You see, strings in Java are object oriented. So whatever the strings, okay, a group of strings or string text that you're going to store into the string array, right? They'll be stored in the form of objects, and obviously the string objects are immutable. Okay, normal string also, if you create, right, they're immutable in nature. Okay, so what do I mean by immutable? Everything I'm going to explain practically, guys. Just wait for a while. And third thing is that you have to use a string array. Obviously, you have to use a string array when you need to work with sequences of characters instead of single character. If you want a group of characters together which forms a word or sentences, right, that kind of words or sentences surrounded by double quotes will be stored into the string array. Okay, a group of such kind of string literal texts can be stored into this string array. Each and every string literal text is nothing but a reference to the string object. Okay, obviously you're creating an object for each and every string literal that you're storing into this array, string array. Okay, but coming to the char array, here I have to write lowercase c, char array. It stores primitive char values, primitive data types. Char is a primitive data type, while string is a predefined class in Java, while char is a primitive data type, which is not object oriented in nature. Okay, Java is not 100% object oriented programming language, guys, because in Java we have a concept known as primitive data types, which actually makes it not 100%. It is an object oriented, but not 100% because of primitive data types. Because when you create an array by declaring that array with this char primitive data type, then the group of character literals or data that you are storing into this char array, okay, for that objects are not created, guys. Hence, automatically char array are, okay, elements in the character array are mutable. Elements in the string array are immutable, whereas elements inside the char array are mutable. There's another difference. It's very easy to understand, right? Because if there is no object, obviously it's going to be mutable, guys. Okay, I'll explain more. So use char array when you need to work with individual characters. If you want a group, if you want to store a group of characters into this char an array, you have to declare that array as char primitive data type. Okay. Now let me practically demonstrate and explain all these points so that they will become more easy for you to understand. For that, I'll switch to Eclipse IDE and create a new package, guys. I'll create a new package here. I'll name this package as .5 package I'm creating. Under this package, I'm going to create a class. I'll just name this class as demo class with main method. Some sample demo class or sample class you can create. Inside that main method, if I want to, okay, if I want to store a group of strings like this, if I say string array SAR is equal to shortcut representation of the string array will be like this. And here I'll give my name, okay, Arun. Then I'll give Varun. Then I'll give Tarun. Okay. Then I'll give Bhaskar. Then I'll say Dawat. Like the different names I'm giving. Okay. So here each and every string literal is nothing but for each and every string literal represented are being stored into the string array. For each and every string literal in the computer memory, an object will be created, and that for that object some memory will be allocated. Okay, what happens here is in the computer memory, okay, for this particular string array, some memory will be allocated for here, some memory will be allocated for the string array. Here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? It will be divided into 5 slots, let's say, because of the array nature. It will be divided into 5 slots, 3, 4, 5, let's say. In the first place, what is being stored? Arun is being stored. This is object 1. Here object 2. For each and every string literal, an object will be created, and for that object, some memory will be allocated. In that memory, these string literals are getting stored. Here object 3, object 4, object 5, and object 5. Okay, here I'll write down object 1, object 2, object 3, Arun, Bhaskar, and Dawat. Like this, different string objects have been stored, okay, created, and in that the string literals are being stored. Now what happens tomorrow is, now if you do any updations here, for example, SAR of 0 is equal to, okay, if you try to update the value of Arun with let's say, okay, you are changing Arun to something known as, okay, Venkatesh or something, okay, some name, some different name. Okay, you are updating the name of Arun to Venkatesh. In that case, what will happen? Here, you may think that this object will be deleted. The data in this particular object will be updated with the Venkatesh. It's not going to happen, guys. Rather, another object will be created, guys. Another object will be created. In that, Venkatesh will be stored. Okay? In that, Venkatesh will be stored. This is what happens, guys. That's why we say strings are immutable in nature. Okay, not only string array, guys. Basically, string, whatever the string you create are immutable in nature. But you create the string array like this, okay? But when you update the one of the string literal that is being assigned to the string array, what happens? The object will be, another object will be created. Object 6 will be created. In that object 6, okay, here instead of removing this Arun from this object 1 and storing Venkatesh in place of Arun, it's not going to happen. Every time you update the value of the string class, object difference, okay, a new object will be created. That's why we say externally it will update gates. If you print it out, it will print Venkatesh, Varun, Tarun, Bhaskar, Dawat in the output when I print all these elements of this array. But the problem here is, internally speaking, the memory allocated and for the object created for this Arun will not get updated with this value, guys. Rather, a new object will be created, and for that new memory will be allocated. In that, Venkatesh will be stored. That's what happens during this updation process. Not only for this string array, guys. Not only for this string array. Normal string also same issue only. It's not an issue. It's how it works. Okay. String name is equal to, if I say Arun here, what happens in my computer memory? Some memory will be allocated. Okay. For this, some object will be created. Some object obj1 or something. I'll just say, will be created. In that, Arun will be stored generally, right? Now, the next line, if I say name is equal to Arun here, what happens? You may think that this Arun will be striked off, and in place of the Arun, Tarun will come, you will think, but it's not going to happen. Okay? Only the problem here is a new object will be created. New object will be created. Let's say obj2 will be created. And to that obj2, in that obj2, this Tarun will be saved. And now this object reference, whatever the object reference that you have used, that name as an object reference, right? Earlier, the name object reference was referring to this particular object where Arun is being stored. Now, once you update the value, name is no more referring to the this one. Rather, name is referring to the newly created object, object 2 where Tarun is being stored. But is this memory got deallocated or deleted? No, not yet. Okay. So every time you update the value for a string object reference, an object reference which is declared with string predefined class, every time a new object will be created. That's why we say that strings are immutable in nature. Okay. Externally, we can update, but internally they are immutable. Objects are getting created without deleting or updating the internally. It's not getting updated. Externally, it's getting updated. That's why strings are immutable. Okay. Since strings are immutable, the elements that you are store the elements that you are going into the string array are also going to be immutable only. This is a basic functionality of a string. What about the char array? So here you can see that source references to the string objects, elements in a string array are immutable. Using strings when you need to work with sequences of characters. Here each and everything is sequence of character. Arun, 1, 2, 3, 4, sequence of 4 characters, sequence of 5 characters, sequence of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 characters, sequence of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 characters, sequence of some 7 characters or something like that. Sequence of characters are nothing but strings. Okay. And such kind of sequence of characters can be stored into a string array. What about char array? What is the difference? Stores primitive character values, char data type values, primitive char data type. Char data type is a primitive data type, CR I'll say. And here, A, R, U, N, like this I'll give. Okay. By name. But here individual characters surrounded by single quotes will be there. Such kind of group of single character literals can be stored into the character array. But here each and every character literal is not of object oriented type. It's a primitive data type. Hence no object will be created in the computer memory. No object will be created for each and every character literal here, because this will be stored directly into the variable, guys. Okay. Okay. No object will be created in the computer memory, directly stored. So here it's not object oriented and there is no possibility. Hence, when you update this character value, right? When you update the char value, char of 0 is equal to, if I give, okay, I will give something Z or something. Okay. So in that case, what happens here? New object will not be created, guys. Okay. Here, object itself is not getting created for this character, individual character letters when you create them. Okay. Hence, it's a primitive data type. There's no object-oriented concept here. So when you try to update, the value of this particular thing will be updated with this Z. A will be updated with Z, guys. Okay. With internally also, it is mutable. Elements inside the character array are mutable in nature. Okay. They'll get updatable. They are updatable, and they'll not create new instances or new objects for each and every stuff. Okay. That's why they are called as mutable. Okay. Stores primitive character values. Okay. Char data type values. Use character array when you need to work with individual characters. When you want to work with individual characters, you have to go with the character array. If you want to work with a sequence of characters kind of stuff, you have to go with the string array. This is a very basic explanation you have to give for this difference between the string array and character array. You don't have to make it too complex. This much of explanation is more than enough, guys. So whatever I covered in this session is more than enough. Okay. Very basic, guys. Don't make these statements kind of complex. They are very simple to understand. Okay. Stores references to objects, stores primitive char values. Elements in a string are immutable. Elements in a char are immutable because here string objects, object-oriented type, and also in the normal string class also, the values when you update string literal values when you update, right? A new object gets created. That's why they are immutable internally. Here mutable, either external or internal, both mutable only. Okay. Individual characters and a sequence of characters which actually form as strings literals can be stored into the string array. A group of individual characters surrounded by single quotes can be stored into the char array. If you can explain that naturally, right? You don't have to theoretically or definition wise you can explain. Just explain it in a natural way to the interviewer who asks you this particular question with this practical demonstration. If you can answer, definitely the interviewer will get, will get impressed. Okay. So that's all for this session, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hello all. Welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is null a keyword in Java? Let me answer this question with practical demonstration. Null is not a keyword in Java. Then what exactly it is? If it is not the keyword, then what it is? It's not a predefined keyword in Java. Then what exactly it is? It is a literal, as simple as a value, some value. Okay. So where exactly we have to use null in Java programming then? If it is not a keyword, if it is a literal that can be assigned to a variable declared with a class, then what are the situations where you have to assign the null value or null literal to a variable declared with a class? Okay, there may be some situations, for example, where you have declared a particular variable with string class, and to that variable of the string class, you have not assigned any value, or you are not assigning any, you are not referring to a particular object. To that variable which is declared with the string class is not referring, that particular variable is called as object reference of the class, is not referring to any particular object. If it is not referring to any particular object, instead of keeping it blank, like string str semicolon, instead of keeping like that, if you want to initialize it still, okay, there may be some situations coming in the program where you have to compulsory initialize that variables, etc. So in that case, string str is equal to null you will mention. That means that object reference, that particular object reference is referring to no object. Okay, here if you say string, instead of saying string str, right? Okay, if it is referring to any particular object, we'll assign something. For example, here if I say Arun Moturi, okay, the object of Arun Moturi is being assigned, okay, to this object reference. Object reference is referring to the object of the Arun Moturi. But what if there is nothing to be initialized? For example, if it is like this, instead of keeping like this, you can write, if you have to initialize and you don't want to assign it with some literal, etc., and it don't have to refer to any particular literal of an object, etc. In that case, you have to write assign null, guys. Okay. In that case, to this str, object reference is referring to null. That means it is not referring to any particular object. Okay. This denotes that it's an absence of an object value. Okay. It's not referring to any particular object. So that's where we have to use null, guys. Okay. In real time, that's where we have to use null. When a particular object reference of a class is not referring to a particular object, then you just assign null as part of initializing to state that this object reference is not referring to any particular object value, etc. Okay. So that's where null come into picture, guys. Okay. That's where null come into picture. It's not a keyword. It is a literal. It's a literal, guys. Okay. So here, where exactly I can show that. Okay. I'll just say right click, create a package. I'll just name this package as null pack, and under the package, I'm going to create a class, demo class with a main method. Okay, demo class with main method. For example, if I create something like this, string str, if I assign something, that means an object is created for this, and for the string literal, an object is created in the computer memory, and this str is referring to the object where this Arun string literal is being stored. If I simply say system.out.println str, this is a positive case where null is not required to be assigned to the string class. Okay, object reference of the string class, you don't have to assign null, everything is working fine. But if you do something like this, in this case, you are getting an error. Why? Because you are trying to print the object reference which is not assigned with any value, right? The local variable str may not have been initialized. This kind of situations will come where you don't want to assign anything, but you want to print it out. In such kind of cases, you want to use this particular thing. In that case, you have to provide null. Once you provide null, right, you see the error is gone. So null means it's not referring to any object. This str object reference of the string class is not referring to any object. Not only in the string class, guys, there may be other classes in Java where you can assign null if you don't want to assign any particular object to the object reference of the class. You see, if you print that null is getting printed, this null is not a keyword, rather it is a literal. Okay, the value that can be assigned to state that the object reference is not referring to any particular object in case. Okay, so with practical demonstration and theoretical explanation, I've answered this question for you. So that's all for this session. Thank you. Bye bye. Hello all, welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, what are class level variables in Java? Let me answer this question with practical demonstration. So what are class level variables? Class level variables in Java are nothing but the static variables. Okay. So inside the class and outside the methods, directly inside the class and outside the methods, when you create the variables, They are called as global variables. And if you specify the static keyword before that particular variables, they will become the static global variables. Okay, they are nothing but the class level variables. So why we are calling them as class level variables means once you make them static, they are common for all the objects. Okay, no matter you create 100 objects for the same class, for all the objects, okay, the static variables will be same. They will be common variables, which are class variables, and the values of this particular data of this or literals assigned to the static variables will be stored in the class memory. Okay, when the JVM will try to allocate some memory to the class while loading it, right, along with that it will allocate the memory to the static variables also. And also another thing about the static variables is in order to access the static variables outside the class, we don't have to create an object for the class. Rather, by using the class name, we can access the static variables. So this is all about the static variables, guys, but let me practically demonstrate so that we'll get a proper answer and proper understanding of the answer for this question. For that, I'll switch to Eclipse IDE, and here I'll go to this particular package, and here I'll create a new package. I'll just name this package as P3, let's say, .p3. Okay, sub package will be created. Under this package, I'll create a class. I'll just name this class, okay, as sample class. Click on finish. I created a class known as sample class, and inside the sample class, I'll create a variable and method. Okay, I'll create a variable basically. Okay, inside this class, I'll create a variable, guys. Okay, I'll create a method also, public void sample method. Okay, sample method, and here system.out.println inside sample method. Now, what is this class level variable? Class level variable is nothing but the static variables in Java. Okay, class level variables are nothing but static variables in Java, which are directly created under the class. That is, they are global variables. First of all, here I'll say int a is equal to, okay, int a is equal to 5. Okay, int a is equal to 5. So here I'll write down, if I provide static keyword here, this becomes a static variable or class level variable. So when I create this, you see this particular variable is created outside the method and directly inside the class. Such kind of variable is called as global variable. If you specify the static keyword before the global variables, they are called as static variables or class level variables. Okay, you can call this particular variable as a class level, okay, variable. Fine. Now I'll create one more class. I'll create one more class. I'll just create the one more class here. Right click new class. I'll just name this class as demo class with some main method. I'll just drag it here. Now you have the demo class and the sample class. Now outside this class, I would like to access this particular variable. Outside this particular class, I would like to access this particular variable. How to access the variable? In order to access the variable, do I need to create an object? If you want to call this particular method, that is sample method, then you have to create an object for the sample class, and using the object reference, I have to call this particular method. But this particular variable is a static variable or class level variable for which I don't have to create an object. Then how to access this particular variable then outside the class? Here simply write down system.out.println name of the class, that is sample.a. That's it. With the help of the class name, we have to call this static variable of the class. And the static variable or class level variable is common for all the objects of this particular class. No matter here, if you create 100 objects for this class also, for all the objects, the static variables will be common. Okay, the common stuff will be stored into the class level variable or static variable, and the static variable belong to the class. Okay, then it is not instance variable. If you create one more variable like this, int b is equal to 10, it's called as an instance variable. This particular variable is called as instance variable. Even though it's a global variable, static keyword is not there, means it's an instance variable. That means, okay, you can update the value of this variable b for each and every object of this particular class. Okay, that's what is an instance variable. But this particular variable, which is provided with the static keyword, is called as a common variable for all the objects, or it's a class level variable or class. The data will be stored in the class memory. Hence, when accessing also, you should not be using the instance or object. Rather, you have to use the class name for accessing. Okay. So with this, hope you got the understanding of what exactly is a, or what exactly are the class level variables. They are nothing but static variables. So with the theoretical explanation and practical demonstration, I explained the answer for this question. So that's all for this session. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hello all. Welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, what is the default value of a Boolean variable in Java? Let me answer this question with practical demonstration. The default value of a Boolean variable in Java is nothing but false. If you don't assign any value or if you don't initialize any value to the variable which is declared as Boolean data type, and if you try to utilize or print that variable, okay, when it is not initialized or assigned with any value in the program, in that case, in the output, we are going to get false as the output. False will be printed in the output. And you have to make sure that this particular Boolean variable, you have to declare that at the global level. Okay, you have to create a variable at a global level. Global variable you have to create and don't assign any value. Why I'm saying global variable? If you try to create a local variable, okay, and if you don't assign any value and if you try to print that variable, you're going to get an error, compiler error you're going to get. But with global variables, you are not going to get a compiler error. With this technique, right, you can print it out and find out that false kind of thing will be printed as a default value, even though you have not assigned any value to the Boolean variable in Java programming, which is at a global variable level. Okay. If you still try to print it out without initializing or assigning the value, false will be printed in the output. For that, for demonstration, I'll go to this particular project, guys. Under this package, I'll create a new class. I'll simply name this class as demo1. With main method, I'll create. I'll just remove this comment. Here, I'm going to create a Boolean variable. Boolean A. I'll not assign any. I'll not initialize or assign any value to this variable. And here, to access this particular Boolean variable inside this particular method, right? These are static methods. Since static methods can only access static stuff, I have to specify static keyword, then only I can access it. Or I need to create an object for this particular class, and using the object reference, I have to access a variable. Okay. Easiest way is static. So here, if I try to print the variable A and run the code here, in the output console, you see false will be printed, guys. False will be printed. Did I assign any false to this Boolean variable? No. But it's coming as false. This proves that false is a default value of a Boolean variable in Java. So with theoretical explanation and practical demonstration, I've answered this question for you. So that's all for this session. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hello all. Welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, what is the default value of an integer variable in Java? Let me answer this question with practical demonstration. So in Java programming, when you define a variable with int data type, and if you don't assign any value to that particular variable, or if you don't initialize any value to that particular variable, and try to print the variable directly without assigning or initializing the value to it, in that case, what value will be printed? That is going to be the default value of an integer variable or int data type declared variable in Java, which is nothing but 0. Okay. If you try to print a variable which is declared with int data type, okay, in Java programming, without actually assigning or initializing it, then you are going to get the output as 0. Make sure that you declare this variable at a global level rather than at the local level, because if you declare this particular variable at a local level, then it is mandatory for you to initialize. Okay. And if you declare this particular variable at a global level that is directly under the class and outside the methods, then it will allow you to not assign or initialize it. Okay. Without initializing or assigning any value to it, you can perform operations on the variable, or you can perform print operation also. Okay. And when you do so, when you print it out, you'll get 0 as output, which is nothing but the default value of an integer variable in Java. Let me explain this answer for this question in a detailed manner in a practical way. Okay. First of all, the straightforward answer is 0. And here, let me practically prove you that. Just for proving this program is required, guys, but for answering right, 0 is enough to answer. Okay. If in case, you need to give more explanation, you can give this program as an example. Now here I created a method, guys. That is the main method. And I'm not going to create a variable inside the method. If I create a variable inside the method, okay, int a, and if I say system.out.println a, you see I'm going to get an error saying that you have to initialize a variable. Okay. So with this compiler error, I cannot initialize. But what if I take this outside and, I'm still getting an error. The reason behind that, this particular global variable is not static. And if I directly want to access this, global variable of this class, okay, inside this static methods can only access static stuff. Since this variable A is not a static type, hence we are getting the error. You see, you cannot make a static reference to a non-static kind of stuff. It's saying either you have to create an object for this class and using the object reference you have to access this, or the simplest way is make it static. Okay, don't worry about this. Still, it is a global variable. Okay, the variable declared with int data type. You see, without initializing also, without assigning any value to this particular variable, we're able to access this variable or print this variable. If you run this code, you'll get an output that is 0 in the output, which proves that, you see, 0 got printed in the output, which proves that, okay, 0 is the default value of the variable declared with int data type. Okay, in Java programming, the default value of integer variable or int data type declared variable is 0. Okay, so with practical demonstration and theoretical explanation, I've answered this question for you. So that's all for this session. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hello all. Welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, what is the default value of an object in Java? Let me answer this question with practical demonstration. The default value of an object in Java is null. If you don't assign anything to an object reference, which is declared with a class in Java, then that object reference will by default refer to null. Instead of object, it is referring to null, means there is no object being referred to is the meaning. Okay, let me practically demonstrate this for you with practical demonstration so that you can get a better understanding of this answer for this question. For that, I'll switch to Eclipse IDE and here I'll expand this project. And here I'm going to create a new class. Right click here, select new class. I'll just name this class as demo5. I'll just name this class as demo5 with main method. And inside the main method, I'm going to create an object. Okay. For example, I'll take one of the predefined classes in Java, let's say string class, string str. Put a semicolon here and simply say system.out.println str. So guys, the problem here is this particular object reference is a local one, which is created inside the method. So it will ask you definitely to initialize it. So if you create this particular variable, this particular object reference by declaring that with string class, one of the predefined class in Java at the local level, you have to mandatorily initialize that. You will not be able to identify what is the default value of this, default value of an object in Java. You'll not get the answer. So move it to the global level like this, okay, and remove this from the local level and move it to the global level. And here, this particular method is static. Static methods can only access static stuff. You have to make this particular thing static. Then you can access, guys, without any problem. Now you are able to access the global variable. Here, str is the object reference, string is a predefined class. And if I have not assigned or initialized this particular object reference of the string class in Java, by default, what will be printed here? By default, null will be printed. Right click, run as Java application and observe that null value will be printed. This proves that the default value of an object in Java or an object reference in Java is nothing but null. So with practical demonstration, I've answered this question for you. So that's all for this session. Thank you and bye-bye.